Let me share something with you. Something I've learned after more than 3 decades sitting across from patients, men and women just like you, who look me in the eyes and say, "Doctor, I don't understand. I'm eating, but I'm exhausted. I'm gaining weight. I feel older than I should." And I usually take a deep breath, lean back a little, and say, "I know exactly what you mean." Because what they're feeling isn't aging. It's something else. It's the silent root of what we now call metabolic disease. Now, when people hear that term, they think it means their metabolism is slow, like a rusty old engine that needs a tune-up. But the truth is much deeper and, honestly, much more heartbreaking. The real issue isn't that your metabolism is slow, it's that your cells, the little engines inside your body, can no longer use the energy that's right in front of them. I want you to imagine this. Your bloodstream is full of glucose fuel. There's plenty of it, more than enough. And yet, your cells are starving. It's like there's a feast laid out on the table, but no one can get through the door. When that happens, your blood sugar rises, your insulin rises, your pancreas starts working overtime, year after year, just trying to push that glucose somewhere, anywhere. And while all that is happening, your cells are whispering, "We can't take this anymore." That's when we see type 2 diabetes. That's when we see heart disease, neuropathy, Alzheimer's. These aren't separate problems, they're branches of the same tree. I once had a patient named Frank, 72 years old, a retired truck driver, big hands, soft voice. He told me, "Doc, I feel tired in my bones." He'd eat breakfast, take a short walk, and feel like he needed a nap. But when we ran his numbers, his blood was overflowing with sugar. He didn't have a lack of energy. He had a lack of access to energy. And the real question, the one I want you to ask yourself right now, is this. Has your body been whispering the same thing to you? Most people don't realize that the biggest driver of this cellular starvation is something incredibly simple and incredibly common: an insulin running too high. For too many years, every time we eat, especially foods like bread, rice, potatoes, cereal, snacks, sweets, that insulin rises. A little spike is normal. Nature designed that. But today, most people eat from the moment they wake up until the moment they go to bed. 3 meals, snacks, drinks, treats, and insulin never gets a chance to fall, not even for a few hours. Imagine holding your breath, not for 10 seconds, but for an entire day. That's what we're asking ourselves to do with insulin. No rest, no reset, no breathing room, and over time, years, sometimes decades, our cells stop listening. They become resistant, and when that happens, we start to feel old, even when we're not truly old. This isn't your fault. It's not a weakness. It's simply a pattern your body has been stuck in when we can start changing the moment we understand it. You know, after all these years practicing medicine, I've realized something about sugar that still surprises my patients. Most people think sugar is just that sweet little troublemaker we sprinkle into our coffee or enjoy in a slice of pie. But the truth is far more unsettling, and I say this with all the care of someone who's watched thousands of lives slowly bend under its weight. Let me tell you something most doctors never say out loud. Your body can safely handle only 1 teaspoon of sugar in your entire bloodstream at any given time. Just 1. That's it. Now pause for a moment and imagine this with me. The average American today is consuming the equivalent of 90 teaspoons of sugar and refined starches every single day. 90. And most people don't even realize it, because it's not just the obvious sweets. It's the bread at breakfast, the crackers between meals, the bowl of pasta at night, rice, potatoes, cereal, tortillas. Your body turns all of these into sugar the moment they hit your bloodstream. I had a patient, Margaret, 68 years old, she told me. "Doctor, I don't even eat desserts. How is my blood sugar high?" And I said, "Margaret, that slice of white bread you love, your body treats it almost the same as a spoonful of sugar." She stared at me for a long moment, as if hearing a truth she had sensed but never understood. And here's the part that shocks most people. Refined starches, things like modified starch and maltodextrin, spike your blood sugar even faster than plain white sugar. Faster, higher, harder. So what happens inside your body when this sugar wave hits you day after day? Your insulin rises again and again and again. At first, your cells listen. They open their doors. They take in the sugar. They do their best. But over the years, something changes. The cells get tired. They get overwhelmed. Eventually, they They start closing those doors. That's what we call insulin resistance, but I like to explain it in simpler terms. Your cells stop hearing the knock, and the sugar never gets inside. So even though your blood is full of fuel, your cells are starving. That's why so many people feel exhausted after meals, foggy in the afternoon, shaky when they haven't eaten. Their bodies are drowning in sugar, yet starving for energy. Let me ask you something, just you and me talking here. Have you ever felt that strange mix of tired and hungry at the same time? If you have, your body may be whispering the same message I've heard from thousands of patients before you. And the good news, once you understand this pattern, you can start to take your power back. There's something I wish more people understood about their health. Something so small you can't see it, yet so powerful it shapes every breath you take, every step you make, every thought that passes through your mind. I'm talking about your mitochondria, these tiny structures inside your cells. Your own little power plants are what keep you alive. Every ounce of energy you feel, every moment you get out of bed, every memory you hold close, it all depends on them. I once told a patient of mine, John, 74 years old, if your mitochondria are struggling, you are struggling. And he looked at me and said, "Doc, is that why I feel exhausted even when I sleep 8 hours?" Yes. John, exactly. Here's the part most people never hear: when your insulin stays high for years because of constant snacking. Too many carbs, too much sugar, it slowly wears down those mitochondria. It's like running an engine full throttle without ever giving it time to cool off. And when mitochondria weaken, the signs show up everywhere. That stubborn belly fat that won't go away no matter how little you eat. That foggy feeling in your mind, like someone dimmed the lights inside your head. That creeping blood pressure. And of course, rising blood sugar levels. Many of my patients come in and say, "Doctor, I'm taking 3 medications. Why don't I feel better?" And I gently explain, because the medicine is treating the symptoms, not the power source. Let me ask you something just between us. Have you ever felt like your body is aging faster on the inside than it looks on the outside? That's a sign your mitochondria are calling for help. Imagine a house where the lights flicker, not because the bulbs are bad, but because the power lines are failing. That's what happens in your body when insulin stays high for too long. But here's the good news, something I've witnessed again and again with my patients. When you reduce insulin spikes, when you let your cells breathe again, the mitochondria wake up. And when they do, people start feeling alive again, clearer mind, lighter body, steadier energy. It's never too late. There's a question I love asking my patients, especially the ones in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. Tell me, how many times did you eat yesterday? Most of them smile, a little embarrassed. Well, doc, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe a little something in between. A little something, a cookie here, a handful of crackers there, a late-night snack. You know how it goes. And I always nod gently. Because I grew up in the same world you did, a world that told us eating all day long was somehow healthy. But here's the truth. I wish someone had told us decades ago, every time you eat, your insulin rises. Not just sugar, not just carbs, every meal, every snack, every nibble. Most people don't realize this. They think the problem is what they're eating. But what I've seen again and again in my practice is that the timing of eating is just as important as the food itself. I want you to imagine insulin like a busy traffic officer. Every time you eat, that officer jumps into the street, blowing the whistle, trying to direct all the incoming energy. When you eat all day, it's like forcing that officer to work nonstop, no breaks, no rest, no chance to step back and reset. And after years, sometimes decades, the system wears down. Cells stop listening. Insulin has to shout louder, and your body gets locked in fat storage mode. One of my patients, Linda, 68 years old, once told me, "Doc, I feel like I'm eating less than ever, but I'm gaining more than ever." And I said, "Linda, it's not how much, it's how often." When she shifted to 2 meals a day, sometimes one on days she felt strong enough, the change wasn't just on the scale. Her energy smoothed out. Her cravings faded. And for the first time in years, she could go 5, 6, sometimes even 7 hours without feeling shaky or desperate for food. That, my friend, is the real sign of healing. Not the pounds lost, not the blood test results, but the quiet confidence of knowing your body can run on its own stored fuel, your fat, without panic. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you could go 4 or 5 hours without even thinking about food? If that feels impossible right now, don't worry. It simply means your insulin has been running the show for far too long. But the moment you reduce meal frequency, whether it's 2 meals a day or just cutting out the snacks, you give your body a gift it's been craving for years. A break, a breath, a chance to remember how to burn energy the way it was designed to. And when that happens, your cells wake up, your metabolism steadies, and food stops controlling your day. It's a quiet kind of freedom, one I want every single one of you to feel. 8, to rebuild your power source. If you've been with me through this series, you know I like to start with a simple image, something you can picture in your own kitchen, your own life. So today, I want you to imagine standing at your countertop. The late afternoon light is coming through the window, that soft golden light we all love. And in front of you is a single bowl, empty, quiet, waiting. What we put into this bowl can change the trajectory of your metabolism, not just your blood sugar, not just your blood pressure, but the energy that carries you through the day. I've spent more than 3 decades caring for patients over 50, and I can tell you this with absolute honesty, most people don't need a complicated diet. They need one deeply nourishing meal built on science, a meal that speaks the language of the heart, the arteries, and those tired mitochondria inside your cells. Let me show you that meal. Start with the foundation, a bed of nutrient-rich greens. And not just any greens, I'm talking about arugula. Some of you may call it rocket, that slightly peppery bite, that bitterness. It tells you something powerful is happening inside that leaf. A few months ago, one of my patients, a 72-year-old retired mechanic named Henry, asked me, "Doc, why arugula? What's so special about it?" And I said to him, "Henry, if spinach is good, arugula is like spinach with superpowers. Here's why arugula is incredibly rich in natural nitrates, plant compounds. Your body turns into nitric oxide, one of the most important molecules for cardiovascular health. Nitric oxide relaxes your blood vessels. It helps your arteries open up like a gentle morning stretch. Blood flows more freely, blood pressure drops naturally. Your heart doesn't have to fight as hard." And here's the part I want you to really hear. People with insulin resistance often have low nitric oxide. It's one of the reasons high blood pressure walks hand in hand with diabetes. So with every handful of arugula, you're giving your blood vessels a chance to breathe again. But that's not all. Arugula is packed with magnesium, vitamin C, folate nutrients. Your mitochondria absolutely rely on to make energy. Without them, those little power plants simply can't fire properly. Next comes the dressing, simple, powerful, medicinal. I'm a 60-year-old doctor, and I'll tell you something my grandmother told me long before medical school ever did. Vinegar is nature's quiet healer. A splash of apple cider vinegar or balsamic vinegar does something remarkable. It helps control your blood sugar after a meal. Studies have shown this again and again, but honestly, I didn't need studies. I've seen it in my patients for years. One woman, 69 years old, told me, "Doc, all I did was add vinegar before my meal, and I don't feel that sugar crash anymore." It works, gently, reliably, and without fanfare. Then, whisk in extra virgin olive oil, the real kind, dark bottle, rich aroma. This oil is medicine in liquid form. Polyphenols in olive oil reduce inflammation, protect your arteries, and help stabilize your metabolism. Every drop is like armor for your cardiovascular system. If you've ever visited the Mediterranean in your younger years, maybe Italy, Greece, you probably remember the older folks there, walking with that easy strength, that slow, steady vitality. Olive oil is a big part of that. Now, let's add what I call the metabolic upgrades. A small handful of pumpkin seeds, crunchy, earthy, wonderful. They're loaded with magnesium, one of the minerals most Americans are missing. Magnesium calms your muscles, your nerves, your heartbeat, and your mitochondria drink it up like water. If you don't like seeds, try nutritional yeast, a golden, savory sprinkle. Many people have never tried. It's rich in B vitamins, especially B1, B2, B3, the spark plugs of cellular energy. I once had a patient tell me, "Doc, that yellow stuff looks strange." I laughed and said, "Try it for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, we'll throw it out." 2 weeks later, she came back and said, "Okay, I'm keeping the yellow stuff. Those B vitamins help your mitochondria wake back up. They help your cells burn fuel instead of storing it." And finally, the quiet hero, half an avocado, soft, buttery, calming, but underneath that gentle flavor lies a powerhouse of potassium. Most people think bananas have the most potassium. They don't. Avocados beat them easily and without the sugar. Potassium is essential for your heart rhythm, your kidneys, your blood pressure, and the delicate sodium balance inside your body. When you get enough potassium, your body can actually tolerate sodium better. Your blood pressure steadies, your pulse softens, your nervous system relaxes. Patients often ask me, "Doctor, is it really that simple?" And I look them straight in the eye and say, "Yes, nourishment is simple. We just forgot. Put all of this together, and you have the most powerful metabolic meal I can teach you. A bowl that opens your arteries, lowers your blood sugar, feeds your mitochondria, restores your energy, and supports your heart. And the best part, it's the kind of meal that loves you back. Every bite is a step toward healing, not just living longer, but living better." Let's talk about the part of the meal that surprises people the most, the protein. And if you've followed my work for a while, you already know what I'm about to say. I recommend high-quality ground beef, ideally from grass-fed, grass-finished cattle. Now, I can almost hear some of you through the screen saying, "Doc, beef really at my age?" And I smile, because I've had this conversation hundreds of times with men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Let me tell you what I tell them. It's not the beef that hurts people. It's the beef eaten with white bread, fries, sugary sauces, mashed potatoes, and refined starch. When you remove the refined carbs, when you enjoy beef the way nature intended, it becomes one of the most metabolically healing foods you can eat. Grass-fed beef is rich in nutrients your mitochondria depend on: carnitine, creatine, carnosine. These aren't just fancy scientific words. They're the molecules that help your cells burn fat for fuel, protect your tissues, and restore energy. I once had a patient, 75 years old, named Robert. He told me, "Doc, I stopped eating red meat for 10 years. I thought it was hurting my heart." But his energy was low, his muscles were shrinking, and he felt weaker every year. I encouraged him to reintroduce a simple grass-fed beef patty, no bun, no fries, no sugar, just the meat, within a month. He came back and said, "I feel stronger than I have in years." That's the power of feeding your mitochondria instead of fearing your food. Now, let's talk about something a little unexpected: dessert. But this isn't the kind of dessert you grew up with. This is what I call a healing dessert, gentle, calming, restorative. It starts with probiotic yogurt made with Lactobacillus reuteri. This little microbe has fascinated me for years. It improves insulin sensitivity. It boosts oxytocin, the hormone of connection, calm, and emotional resilience. And it supports muscle health, which is critical as we age. A woman in her late 60s once told me, "Doctor, I don't know what's happening, but ever since I started that yogurt, I feel happier." And yes, that's one of its benefits. Then, if you want to elevate this healing dessert even further, add a few pieces of 70–80% dark chocolate, real chocolate, rich in polyphenols that support the heart, calm inflammation, and help your body manage blood sugar. And just a dusting of cinnamon, not for flavor alone, but because cinnamon gently lowers post-meal glucose. Together, this little bowl becomes something more than food. It becomes medicine, disguised as comfort. So there you have it. A meal built from the ground up. A salad that opens your blood vessels. Beef that fuels your mitochondria. And a dessert that heals your gut and softens your heart. Simple, nourishing, deeply human. And most importantly, it supports your body's natural ability to reverse metabolic disease, no matter your age. Now, after you finish that nourishing meal, I want you to do something incredibly simple, something our grandparents did without even thinking about it. Just take a walk. 15 to 20 minutes. Not a workout, not a power walk, just a gentle stroll around your neighborhood, or even down your hallway if that's all you can manage. I tell my patients, think of it as a quiet conversation with your body after a meal. Because here's the beautiful truth. When you walk, your muscles begin to pull glucose out of your bloodstream without needing insulin. It's like opening a back door for sugar to exit safely. One patient of mine, 68 years old, told me, "Doc, I can't do much exercise anymore, but I can walk." And I said, "Then you can heal." A month later, his after-meal blood sugars were the best they'd been in years. Sometimes the simplest habits are the most powerful. And if you have the chance, step outside into the sunlight, especially that warm, late afternoon light. There's a spectrum in sunlight called infrared, and your mitochondria absolutely love it. Infrared light helps them recharge, repair, and produce energy. It's like giving those tiny power plants inside you a warm cup of tea. So walk slowly. Let the sun touch your skin, and feel your body work with you, not against you. And now I want to talk about something even more important: muscle. If you're over 50, I need you to hear this carefully. Your muscles are not just a way to stay strong. They are metabolic organs, packed with mitochondria. They burn sugar, they burn fat, they keep insulin low. They protect you from diabetes, heart disease, and even cognitive decline. Muscle is youth, muscle is protection, muscle is metabolism. I once had an 82-year-old patient named Martha. She asked me, "Isn't it too late for me to build muscle?" And I told her, "Martha, it's never too late to get stronger than you were yesterday." We started with tiny resistance exercises, pushing against a wall, lifting light bands, slow squats holding onto the kitchen counter. 4 months later, she looked at me and said, "I feel alive again." That's what resistance training does. It wakes up your mitochondria. It restores insulin sensitivity. It rebuilds your foundation. You don't need a gym. You don't need heavy weights. You just need consistency and the belief that your body can still change, because it can. No matter your age, as we come to the end of this conversation, I want you to take a slow breath and let something sink in. Your body is not broken. It has simply been overwhelmed. And just like any living thing, it can heal when we stop hurting it and start giving it what it's been asking for all along. For years, maybe decades, you were told that type 2 diabetes is a lifelong condition, that heart disease is something you manage, not something you can change, that aging means steadily losing energy, strength, and clarity. But that's not the truth I've seen in my patients over the last 35 years. The human body is astonishingly resilient. Even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, your cells are still listening. Your mitochondria are still fighting for you. And insulin, this hormone that has caused so much trouble, can be brought back into balance. And the path to that healing is far simpler than most people realize. When you reduce refined starches, when you gently lower the amount of sugar your bloodstream must handle, when you give your body just 1 or 2 deeply nourishing meals instead of constant snacking, insulin finally gets a chance to calm down. The noise quiets, the inflammation settles. When you fill those meals with nitrate-rich greens, healthy fats, vitamins, minerals, and proteins that support your mitochondria, your cells begin to wake up again. It's like turning the lights back on. When you walk after a meal, even just 20 minutes, your muscles start clearing glucose without needing insulin's help. That one simple habit can change an entire metabolic lifetime. And when you build muscle, even slowly, even gently, you create one of the strongest shields against disease that exists in all of medicine. Muscle is the armor of aging. Muscle is metabolic freedom. These are not complicated interventions. They are not expensive. They do not require perfection. They simply require intention. And here's something I want you to remember long after this video ends. You are not too old to heal. You are not too late to change. And you are absolutely not beyond hope. I've seen people reverse type 2 diabetes in their 70s. I've seen heart disease markers improve in their 80s. I've seen men and women who thought they were done suddenly come back to life the moment insulin quieted down and mitochondria began to breathe again. Your body wants to recover. Your job is simply to stop standing in its way. If this message spoke to you, if it gave you even a spark of belief in your own ability to heal, I want to invite you to support this mission. Please like this video so it reaches more people who need this message. Share it with someone you love, someone who needs hope, and subscribe to this channel so we can keep walking this journey together, step by step, day by day. You're not alone in this, and your best health may still be ahead of you.